Hello everyone, nubkeks here, welcome back to Nub Raids, and in today's video, I've got a 1-key team for the hard difficulty of Hydra Rotation 1, and we're not using Inquisitor Shamael, we're not using Geomancer either, so if you have run out of those champions, you're looking for a different sort of team to put together, and we still have some pretty meta champions here, don't get me wrong, but hopefully this team might give you some ideas as well. So what do we have going on with this team? Well, we have Ugo in here, she just took her turn for that decreased defense, and block buffs, AoE. One interesting thing in this run, I was actually trying out Ugo in a taunting set, right? And it seems to me, I'm pretty sure, that taunting is a 30% chance to apply a provoke debuff whenever you attack. And I'm pretty sure that can actually apply on weak hits. So that's going to give us one way to lock down the Head of Decay. You can see that Husk on the far right, he is one of our damage dealers, and his A1 has, I believe, a 40% chance to apply provoke as well. So it's giving us some sources of provoke. But yeah, the taunting set on Ugo is something I was trying out. I'm not entirely convinced by it, to be honest, from this run, but you will see it in the footage here being useful sometimes. She's going to give us some provokes, and that's kind of nice. But I'm actually going to probably re-gear her after this video into... I actually discovered I've got a really good Relentless set, so I'm going to be able to put her into a Relentless set that I'm not actually using on a support champion at the moment. So that's what I'm going to be doing instead, I think. Another source of provoke, actually, and a champion I think is so underrated. He just took his turn there. It's on the far left. It's Sigmund the High Shield. Just one of the most underrated champions in the entire game, and it's not even close. What does Sigmund do? Sigmund does a whole bunch of things. So he has on a 3-turn cooldown an AoE attack. It's a double hitter that can apply decrease attack, and it can provoke. And you get 2 chances with that. So even in these situations where we do have bad affinities, Sigmund can still come in and very consistently provide the AoE decrease attack and that provoke. So now he's locking down Head of Decay, which is an extra thing that he wasn't bringing before. And that AoE decrease attack, that adds up to a lot, especially when Head of Wrath comes in, who does hit us pretty hard. He also then has a Strengthen and a Shield for the team on a 3-turn cooldown on his A3, which is such a good move. It's very similar to what Mithrala does, just minus the cleanse. But it's such a good move. The Shield of the Realm, here it comes in. That helps your survivability just a ton. It makes you so much safer. It's just phenomenal. Then his A1 can remove buffs. So you will have seen me use his A1 a bit here in today's video to remove, for example, the reflect damage from the Head of Suffering. Or we're going to use it sometimes to remove increase attack from Head of Wrath if that goes through, because Head of Wrath is red affinity. Ugo's not going to be able to block Head of Wrath's buffs all the time. She will weak hit. So that sort of stuff comes together in a really nice way. And you'll see in terms of these provokes, you know, I'm going to be trying with Ugo to target Head of Wrath. Sorry, not Head of Wrath. Head of Decay when I can. When he's not provoked, just to give us that extra chance. Husk is generally, because he's red affinity, he's generally hitting Head of Decay anyway in this composition. He's often not able to hit Head of Torment, because if we don't have Veil on, he's going to get True Feared, and we can't have that. So right there, Ugo landed the provoke, and it is quite useful. And yeah, that's sort of what we're doing here. You can see it is a little bit awkward with this Head of Torment. We just have to play around it. Rector Drath, she's in as well. She is giving us Perfect Veil, but that's only for 2 turns every 4 turns. So it's not full coverage by any means, which means that we simply have to play around Head of Torment. We're going to get True Feared. We've no way to remove it. We just have to deal with it. So essentially, we just try to be careful with our AoE attacks, not to, you know, yeah, just to sort of delay abilities if we have to, and try not to attack Head of Torment at all if possible. Just avoid it entirely whenever we don't have that perfect veil. So we're going to be relying on that. There's obviously some luck that comes into it, unfortunately, because we got the Mastery, which can extend our buffs. So if we get a 3-turn veil instead of a 2-turn veil from Rector Drath, it actually makes a big difference. So that's just something to be aware of. You can see we've killed two heads here at once, which is actually quite nice. So we're going to be able to get out some pretty good damage. So for example, when these heads are dead, there's really very little damage coming in at this point. So I'm going to be using Sigmund just to do damage. We're going to save his shield for when something worse happens. And unfortunately, we'd love to hit these decapitated heads, but someone's been eaten. We got to switch to break them free. So that's what we're going to be doing here. And you can see, hey, Head of Blight comes in, so we're going to get to see some other heads as well. Provoke from Sigmund stops that cleanse coming in from Head of Wrath, which actually might harm us in a sense. Nah, it's probably okay. I mean, it's something to watch out for, right? Just when the cleanse syncs up with a poison cloud, that can be kind of bad, right? So just to watch out for that. Obviously, the guy we just freed from being eaten, Ninja. This is the one that is going to be difficult for people to have. You know, you either were playing when Ninja was up and you have him, or there's no possible way that you get Ninja. So I understand that. Now, there's lots of champions, obviously, that can replace him, but there's not many that are going to be as good as him at Hydra. So really do watch out for that. I'd say, obviously, champions like Sissia Flametongue, Trunda, Mashald. We're really talking about some of these top damage dealers who can come in and do what he is doing in a sort of worst case scenario, like something like Akoth or Mordecai, someone bringing those AoE HP burns, could do a pretty decent job here as well. I mean, we've got a reasonable amount of provokes, so the HP burns actually work quite well, right? They tend to get a lot of their value. So there are other options for sure. Those options are really much bigger now than they were before. Now that the defense of the Hydra heads has been nerfed, that direct damage is now much more versatile, much more usable. So there are replacements. What Ninja does super well, he's just pumping out a lot of direct damage, and then he's also putting out the burns. So he's just a versatile damage dealer. Royal Guard, another Husk, something like that would work too, you know? It's kind of nice to have a variety, having a blue damage dealer and a red damage dealer with Husk and Ninja, just to balance it out so that you kill the heads somewhat evenly. But yeah, there you go. Again, here we go. We have another head coming in this time. So we've had Head of Blight out there. Now we have Head of Wrath as well. Funny enough, I would say that it's actually a little bit awkward when this stuff happens, simply because, you know, Head of Wrath and Blight, they do quite a lot of damage when they're in together. We're actually quite happy now to have Head of Decay, which is sort of a first. It's sort of a first, so we're just going to try kill off Blight as quickly as we can. Blight is quite squishy. And he can do a surprising amount of damage. One thing we don't have in this comp, because we don't have a Geomancer or another champion that does it, is decrease accuracy, something we're missing. Decrease accuracy can really nerf the damage that Blight does, and it's a very good combo with the passive of Rector Wrath as well. Rector Wrath's passive giving you bonus resistance when you're under Veil. That's just not something we've access to. We can't really bring in Tatora and bring in block buffs that he does, or sorry, block debuffs that Tatora does, because we just can't stop Mischief from stealing our stuff enough. It's just not an option. So here you can see Sigmund is actually so good for this point as well. Head of Wrath, Sigmund is so good. Decrease attack, strengthen, shielding, removing the increase attack buff. He is so strong. Now he is the bad affinity this rotation, but still he often does it well enough to cover it and just make it super easy. I forgot to mention actually the final champion is Mother Cybele in the lead. And again, it's not the best rotation for her. She's red affinity. There's a lot of green affinity heads and that sort of thing. However, she just adds an awful lot to the team. She gives us a speed aura, which is super, super handy. She's giving us decreased speed, AoE, which again is not that reliable against these heads, but it's not bad. She puts out a reasonable amount of damage. And she also gives us increased defense, which is something this team doesn't have. So it's that extra layer of safety against Head of Wrath. You can see the hit comes in, increased defense is on. We have decreased attack on the head, and it's really not that bad. Sigmund slams a shield on, and we're able to sort of survive through. Lots of potential champions you could replace Mother Cybele with on this team. For sure, she's definitely replaceable, but I do think that she does a pretty good job. I mean, Deliana would be a great one. Deliana procs the strengthen when you drop low. Does lots of cool stuff. She does lots of healing. Another source of block buffs. Red affinity as well. Throwing out very reliable leeches. So she'd be a good one. Yeah, there's lots of things you could do. I mean, if you're investing your Lydia in a team like this, you could bring in Lydia and you could switch in Deliana instead of Ugo. Something like that. That would totally work. There's lots of things you can do, really there is. And of course, Inquisitor Shamael would make the team way better, but it's working just fine as it is. So we're coming up here. We're at 17.7 million. We're really close now to that 1 key. I'm not going to show you the full run. I actually ran out of storage. I'll show you the 1 key, and I'll show you what I got in the end. I actually ran out of storage space on my phone, would you believe? Because I've been recording a bunch of stuff and I haven't deleted it yet. So yeah, luckily it cut out just after we get the 1 key, which is hilarious, but I wasn't going to cancel out and redo the whole thing after eventually deleting everything on the phone. We just went with it, but it's okay. You see exactly how this works. You've seen every sort of head coming in and how we're dealing with it, some of that decision making as well. And yeah, we've got another head down here. Again, we get that increased defense on. We know Head of Rat's about to pop off. He's able to provoke us, and there's not much we can do. We even get the decreased attack to make it super safe. And you can see that decreased attack goes out, and we've got the shields and the increased defense, and it's just a tickle. It really is, at that point, just a tickle. So we're not too scared. One thing as well, with Rector Drath, you can see it right there. I'm often, because she doesn't have War Master in my build, she does so little damage, I just don't care. And I just use her as a way to place decreased attack. She does place decreased attack on weak hits. So we just use her as a way to do that. I think we're about to cut out here. But as you can see from the damage, we're going up to that 20.6 million, I think it is, that you need for hard. And we've got 2 dead heads, so bam. And it cuts out just as we hit 20.7, but we're more than making it. It's absolutely fine. If you're curious, how far did we get in this run? I got 35 minutes in total, and I got over 200 turns into the run. 36, well, we got slightly more than that, actually. The total damage at the end was, well, only slightly more. 36.6 million damage at the very end is what we did. Actually, I can show you this in game. I was just doing some 3v3. I'll show you this in game. I'm recording this like a little bit early, just because it's going to be really busy the next couple of days. So I wanted to get this in early. By the way, this is my Nightmare team, if you were curious. I think I've done videos on this exact team before, but it's basically a pretty straightforward team. Obviously, Krisk is like the key to this team. So if you don't have Krisk, it's no good. But here we go. Let's check it out. 36.6. And you can see the overall stats, the healing, the damage taken, all of that. So Ninja coming in with 16 million. Obviously, we did 36.6 million. So we actually did a 1 key's worth of damage, even without Ninja in there. Now, that's not quite point for point, because obviously, you know, him killing off heads and us getting bonus damage against decapitated heads and breaking people free quickly does sort of count for more. But it sort of shows you that other damage dealers can definitely come in and you'll do just fine, right? There's lots and lots of other options for what you can do. In fact, I think that the options are very broad now, really are. Husk with 11 million. Mother Cybele actually did 4 million. We're using her A1 quite a lot. It's a bad affinity for her, but she's just pumping out, you know, you can also use her to swap HP with someone. I didn't really bother doing it, but she can swap HP with someone and become a mischief tank. I actually have her built for that, but we didn't actually end up doing it in this run, so I didn't really talk about it. But just so you know, it's something you can do. Ugo with that taunting set, which I'm going to replace. Rector Drath doing most of the healing. And yeah, you sort of, you get the gist right there. Lifesteal set on Ninja too. So let's take a look at it. Let me show you some other teams here real fast. So for example, Chunk came in, Trunda and Mashald, absolutely slamming Venus as well. There's a really good key. Here's another really good key with Tumisia. That's a great replacement for Ninja, really strong. Tumisia, Husk, Royal Guard, Geomancer. You get the idea for some of these really good damage dealers. Here's another 1 key. More 2 not doing too much. Obviously, Krisk, this one was using the Ninja. And let me see, Wayne over here. Mordecai actually look at this. Like, Mordecai was doing about as much damage as Husk, right? And he's an epic. Throw Mordecai in, and you know it's gonna contribute pretty well. Anything sort of else? I think this is the exact sort of team I did a showcase of the other day with Kantra. Any other sort of damage dealers? Here we have an Aboro coming into tank. Oh, that was a really bad key, actually. Never mind. This key right here, Husk and Royal Guard. There we go. There we go. Lots of different sorts of teams and all the rest. Yeah, when you come to the top level, it's still those max HP nukers are really still the way to go. It's all about that max HP nuking at the higher. Anyway. Right, let's dive in. Let's take a look at the builds for these different champions. Let me put this up on my second monitor so that I remember what champions I used, because that's hard to do sometimes. There we go. Great. Let's do this. So, Mother Cybele, first of all, I have her built as a mischief tank, and we didn't actually really utilize that effect, but I have her with really high resistance. This is pretty much enough resistance for Nightmare Hydra right now, so you don't need this much. For hard, you're looking at like, I'd be looking for, you know, 400 plus. Really for hard, I think 410 plus is roughly what you're going for hard. So she is too much, you know, it's sort of 450 to 500, leaning towards 500 for Nightmare. She's got a bit too much for that. She's got high speed. Just high speed and tons of resist. She's really built for resistance and in perception, right? So she's got, for example, resistance chest piece. She's got a resistance banner. She's got stuff that you wouldn't need. The point of that is that you can use Uncanny Transfer to swap with an ally. she's going to give herself 2 continuous heals, and she's going to get targeted by Mischief, and it buys you a turn. So that's really useful. I didn't actually end up using it, but it's a really cool thing you can do with her. She does need resistance, because otherwise she's going to be super low health. Mischief's going to steal the buffs, and you're going to flop over dead. It's very, very bad. But that's a cool thing you can do with her. She's mostly just spamming that A1, placing decreased speed and going fast, speed aura, and Soul Shepherd, and her masteries are like this. So extending their buffs, extending her debuffs. You could potentially also just give her Sniper. That works fine too. But I do like extending her buffs. And yeah, down into War Master. Then we have our other epics. We have our 2 blue epics. Where's Ninja? Where is Ninja? There's Ninja. So Ninja, he is like this. He's going into War Master. Then he has the extended debuffs and the better chance to place debuffs. Really what we're going for there. I have him in a lifesteal set right now, and it works fine. I am considering rebuilding my Ninja at some point. Right now, he does have 100% crit rate, some crit damage, some attack. He's sort of an all-round build, and it actually works pretty well. I guess now that Hydra's been nerfed, it's actually probably a good build. But I think for before, what I was considering was building him just pure tank, just ditching the crit rate and the attack, and just building him to do the A2 debuffs, exploding HP burns, and just super tanky. And that actually would work really well before. Now that the attack of the Hydra heads has been nerfed quite a lot, I don't think that it's that important, and he's probably set up really well. For example, at 340 accuracy in this sort of build, he's probably set up really well for like brutal Hydra with this sort of build. So that's Ninja. I have re-geared Sigmund a little bit, since now he's not fully rolled up on his gear, so there's room for improvement here. He's coming in 60k HP, about 3,500 defense, and decent speed. Not too much crit rate, but a little bit of crit rate and good accuracy, and that's really what we're going with for him. And then for the masteries, again, obviously going into War Master, giving him a better chance. I don't know if that matters, but I guess it maybe maybe it helps a little bit. And then the Master Hexer, I don't. So he does have the 100% chance to place decrease attack. It's just the question of, does Sniper affect his A1, removing buffs, or his passive? I don't think it does, but I gave it to him anyway. There's not much you're missing out on. Honestly, I might switch him up. And basically ditch Evil Eye, take Cycle of Magic instead, then take Master Hexer and take Lasting Gifts. I think that might be better. And maybe grab him Life Drinker instead of Single Out. So building him sort of like the other champs are built. I think that could work well too, seeing as he does give us a lot of very good buffs with the Strengthen and the Shield. So that's something to consider, but I don't think it's game changing, I don't think. But I'll test it out, and I'll let you guys know when I have tested it out. Next up we had Rector Drath. Same build as she's pretty much always been in, guys. High resistance, good accuracy, good speed, tanky, all the rest. The accuracy is kind of a luxury, and obviously don't need this much for hard Hydra. And the resistance is higher than you need for hard as well. She's really set up here for brutal Hydra. I like the resistance. It saves you a lot of stress. It makes her much more survivable. So don't undervalue the resistance. She's not a resistance tank or anything like that, but it's just being able to avoid the poisons, avoid the provokes, that sort of thing. That's very good. And then I really do value her single target decrease attack. It's not super reliable, but getting that onto Head of Wrath as force affinity, it's a nice thing to bring. And then for her masteries, this is how we got her some of those stats. We're going to get her the bonus resistance. She's just going in and through the support tree, through this tree. I mean, like Evil Eye doesn't do anything for Hydra, so you could switch this up. It's sort of up to you. This is designed sort of for PvP and for Hydra. But you could easily switch it up and give her Cycle of Magic instead, or give her Merciful Aid instead, potentially with those fears, healing a bit more, quite nice. It's sort of whatever you want to do. I mean, Solidarity would be pretty good as well, more resistance even when people are under that veil. So there's options there. Definitely like the Lasting Gifts for her, especially here where we don't have a Shamael on the team. Then we had Husk. Husk is going in with War Master, and he's got some counterattack stuff. I didn't give him Deterrence. I don't know. You could totally give him Deterrence instead of Cycle of Revenge. That's not super useful against the Hydra. It is up to you. The issue with Deterrence, obviously, is when you do run them in a composition like this one, that Deterrence can be really bad. I think I did have him with it and I took it off him just because I did end up using him in like my second teams that didn't have Shamael, and he'd end up fearing himself when you don't want him feared. So yeah, if you have him with Shamael, Deterrence is the way to go. If you don't have him with Shamael, probably put him like this. And he is in Savage and crit rate sets. He's got high health, good speed, 100% attack, bit of crit damage, and now I've been trying to build him with some accuracy. So he only has 240. I actually forgot to roll up his banner. That's going to give him a little bit more. Maybe I can glyph it up a little bit. It's going to be difficult to build him super high accuracy, I find, but you definitely want accuracy on him now because this A1, that 40% chance to provoke, is very useful. It's very helpful. 240 has been plenty for hard, but you will want more for the higher difficulties, or you're going to want to bring in something like your Deliana, who can place decreased resistance and help Husk land those provokes, even though he doesn't have as much accuracy. You're going to want decreased resistance or increase accuracy, something like that. And then Ugo is the last one. I'll show her to you last because we're going to be re-gearing her. I had her in the taunting set and it was decent, but I'm going to switch that up, I think. And she is here with about 60k HP, this sort of stuff. So I'm going to be re-gearing her, I think, into Relentless and giving her more health. So high speed, high accuracy, and high health. And that's really all that she needs. That's really all that she needs. Lets her do everything that she wants. And she has, obviously, extended debuffs and War Master. Again, you could probably give her Life Drinker instead of Single Out. But it's not going to make a massive, massive deal. But it would be slightly better overall. But there you go, guys. They are the Bills. They are the champions. 1 key. Easy 1 key. More than a 1 key. 36 million. With no Shamael, no Geomancer. So a little bit different. Like I said, I don't know. We'll see how this series goes as we go forward. Seeing as, yeah, I think that 1 keying hard is now, as you saw from this run, I think it's a lot easier than it was before. I think you have a lot more options. There's a lot more things you can do. Did we see this team or did he just do it? This might be a new team with the Champ Fort. He might have just done this while I was talking. I think he did, actually. So there you go. Another team. Absolutely sick with the Shamael going in. Trunda and Mashal to do damage, right? Just that big direct damage, blowing things up. Champ Fort to be a mischief tank. You got the Lydia in there, Arbiter. Yeah, great team. 36.58 as well. Absolutely slamming it. So yeah, lots of good options. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.